I'm not sure if I've met everybody, but my name is Marcel. Nice to meet you all. And well, breath work, breath training, breath awareness, there's many names to call the same thing, which is just the mere, most important vital function of the body, which is breathing in and out air from the atmosphere and absorbing the oxygen off of that air and offloading CO2. Basically, that's what respiration does in order to produce energy and to sustain life. So, well, besides that, we can regulate our nervous system through breathing. Breathing is one of the first things that goes south when we lose patience, for instance, or when we're anxious or scared. You can notice a change in the breathing pattern, right? So that's, sorry, just 1 second. Welcome, Wendy. I'm gonna put a,
Find you, ladies and gentlemen.
oh,
Here I am now.
we, yeah,
Sometimes location challenge.
yeah, you're more than welcome if you would like to be next to me. So,
She's a pro. Oh yeah.
perdón? Okay, so if you don't mind, the camera is pointing this way. So if you like to be on the other side, or if you feel more comfortable.
I'm not camera shy. So
Well, okay. If you don't mind, if not, we can always change to the other side. Just let me know now before we start. You're good? Okay. Thanks. Well, welcome, Wendy. I'm sure some of you have already met Wendy. She is a well-curated personality in the tourism and wellness and service industry, so we're pleased to have her here this week with us. So friends, as we were starting the forward on things, breathing, the most vital of all actions for survival. Because if we boil it down, I'm going to start with a little philosophy, right? This is philosophical, but it's also physiological and psychological. But when you look at breathing as the number one element for survival, it becomes more important to think about it, to think of which ways are we performing our breathing, and in which ways is it affecting our emotional and physical bodies. So again, as I was mentioning, when you notice someone being scared or anxious, the first thing that you can notice, besides facial expressions, will be respiratory rate that's elevated, that even sometimes goes into gasping or kind of erratic pattern, right? So that is one indicator there that the nervous system is tightly correlated with the breath and vice versa. And so I like to start with a saying that is actually a saying we've always heard. It goes, the mind controls the body, right? Mind controls the body, or mind over matter. We've always heard that. The problem is sometimes the mind is not able to control itself. Sometimes we lose our minds, literally, over, maybe before a presentation or a public speech, and we're like super nervous and we can't control ourselves, or maybe before a competition or a race, and we know, the other team is super strong, and we're like, oh my God, I don't feel like I'm ready for this. Well, what you go to in order to control your mind is the breath. The breath is the component that is finally able to control the mind, and so the mind can be leveled and then act over the body and control the body, and so your nervous system slows down and you're able to think better, make better decisions, and so on and so forth. So I like to start with that, okay? Pretty soon we're going to jump into the exercises, but I like to start with some philosophy and again, physiology and psychology. Another thing is that nowadays breathing pattern is proven to be mainly a chest-driven, like shallow-driven, not only chest, shoulders, neck. These are the accessory muscles of breathing. These are called accessory muscles by physicians and by medicine. So What does that word accessory denotes? If you think of that, is there any other word that you will relate to that, or anything that you can envision or visualize when you hear accessory? Anyone? It's a helper, exactly.
Not the core.
It's not the core, exactly. Yes, many ways to describe that. Someone said extra. It's like an extra set, so you put them on when you need them. I like to start with that idea. The accessory muscles of breathing are the ones you should use when your respiratory rate is hopefully not by anxiety, but it's increased by maybe walking up the driveway, or running, or you name it. Any physical exertion that will start raising that heart rate, and then you need to get more air in. That's why when you put those extra muscles on, and these are the backups, exactly. So helpers, yeah. And so other than that, for a proper functioning of the nervous system, we should be breathing with our diaphragm first, aka belly or abdominal breathing, but that's just two cues for diaphragmatic breathing, okay? And the diaphragm, for those who don't know, I used to not know this, it is the main or the most important muscle in your breathing system, okay? And it's almost like a parachute-like muscle that sits underneath the lungs, helping the lungs to expand mostly downwards and sideways a little bit, but mostly downwards, so it pulls the bottom of the lungs down, so that bottom third, if we were to divide the lungs into 3 stages, the bottom third, which is visually speaking the widest area of the lungs, you've seen it, right? I mean, in depictions, or it is the widest area of the lungs. That means that's where the most volume is, which also means this is where the most gas exchange happens. This is where we are able to absorb more oxygen into the system and offload more CO2, because there's more alveolar content. And alveoli are the air sacs with capillaries that ultimately, again, does the exchange. So if that area, if the bottom of the lungs is stagnated, it is compressed and squished and lazy because of a lack of activation of that diaphragm muscle, we are missing out a big portion of our physiology that's ultimately there to help us live better. And I like to go to a concept, we were speaking about that earlier with Jennifer, and maybe you and I were talking about the biomarkers and all the stuff that Synergy is doing with the Flow project. With this is an add-on program that's coming. It's being fine-tuned now, which will give you guys different tests to perform in order to know where your health is, basically. So VO2 max, grip strength, resting metabolic rate, body composition, and all that. So this is very interesting. It's coming up in the near future. But anyhow, in all of the realm of the biomarkers that tells you where your health is, guess what? Lung capacity is a big one. A big one. And this is exactly what we came to work on today, your lung capacities. This is the strength and control of the breathing muscles, because the lungs on their own are not muscles, they're organs, and they rely on the musculature around them in able to squeeze and expand in order for us to inhale and exhale and feed off of that amazing oxygen that's contained in the air that we breathe. All right? So the premise today is the right order. We're going to practice the right order for those who have lost it, like me at some point, and now through this type of framework, exercises and philosophy, I'm able to return to that source. As babies, when we're born, we're obligated nasal breathers and belly breathers. You can see that clearly, and you can ask any MD regarding the way babies breathe. Our breathing pattern starts changing once we start becoming aware of the reality in which we live in, which is complex oftentimes. Whether it's through the news on TV, or the bully kid at school, or parents arguing in front of us, or you name it. There's nutrition, there's many things involved where our breath starts going south. It starts shifting more towards the alertness, survival mode, which is usually mouth and usually what I said, accessory muscles, and usually short, not a lot of in and out depth. And that's the perfect recipe to keep us in that loop of sympathetic activation, fight, flight, or freeze. When we switch, when we revert or flip the equation, now we are in the nice, consistent, steady rest, digest, and recover, aka parasympathetic. So, all right, that being said, we're going to perform 2 breath holds, one in the beginning, one at the end. And the breath holds are going to be a nice indicator, baseline, to see where we're at both the mental capacities to stay still and be comfortable within our own skin and relax and be aware of the whole body relaxation. And number 2, when the breath hold becomes uncomfortable because of high levels of CO2, how strong can we be at coping, bearing with that discomfort? For how long are we able to sit with that discomfort, which is not going to kill us? It is, again, going to make us stronger, just like the cold plunge did, and lifting weights or running sprints or anything that hurts but relieves or strengthens does to your physiology and psychology. All that being said, I know is a mouthful of words, but we're going to start with the first exercise of the day, which is the first breath hold, okay? For which you guys now are laying comfortably on your backs. And the protocol is going to be the following. I am going to count down from 10. I'm going to count down. And when I get to 1, when I say 1, everybody at the same time takes the deepest breath you can. So fill your lungs as much as you can with air and hold, okay, for as long as you can. So the moment you have to breathe again, guys, the moment you let the air go, you raise your hand so I can see that you're breathing and I can point out your time. Otherwise, I would have no idea on how long your breath hold was, okay? So I'm going to keep an eye on everybody to see who raises their hand in signal of, breathing again. Any questions? Okay, I'm going to start a countdown. And just a quick reminder, this is a challenge that's supposed to be within each of you individually. We're not trying to hold our breaths longer than our siblings or parents, or trying to push it, so hard where it turns into a competition. It is not. It is just an individual challenge to see where we're at, and we're going to get it better. We're going to work at it to get it even better. So our adaptations and our tolerance and relaxation capabilities are going to be enhanced within 2 sessions, within 2 breath holds, okay? First one coming up in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, ready? 1. Deep inhale, deepest inhale you can. Get as much air as possible in, and off we go. Good job. That's 26 seconds. It's good. We're going to double or triple that number. You'll see. That's 32. We are currently at 40 seconds. That's 45. 44 actually. 44 seconds. 10 seconds away from a minute. That was 50 seconds. That's 55. One minute. 104. That's 108. 108. Yeah. 111. Scott. 111. That's 115. Frankie. 117. Good. This is 120. Still have a couple people holding. Everybody just take a mental note of the time that I just announced, so you can keep it there for the records. And we will compare with the second breath hold. That was 139. 139. And we are approaching the 2-minute mark in 10 seconds. Still have 2 people holding, I believe. We just hit the 2-minute mark. That was 2 sharp, 2 flat. Good job. And we are waiting for one more person. And if you notice, 2:15, 2:15. I'm going to stop the stopwatch. Don't kill me if you're still holding. I don't think that anyone else is holding after 2 minutes. That's a pretty big baseline. Good job, everybody. Let's all together, throw in 4 or 5 recovery breaths. Recovery breaths are meant to be done after a breath hold, and you can also do those after a high intensity, short duration series of an exercise. It's basically brought to the world of breathwork by jet pilots from World War II. Believe me or not, it is called the hook breath, and it was designed to be able to cope, those pilots, with the changes of altitude. And so right now your CO2 levels, especially those who finished at last, are high. Carbon dioxide levels are high in the blood. The way you get rid of that and get it to a baseline is, if you guys can all look at me through your maybe lower peripheral for a minute or a few seconds, it looks and sounds like this. A lot of emphasis on the inhale, wide mouth. It's a nice pull of air, like nice suctioning of air. Then a half a second pause where you drop your shoulders and expand or press out onto your lungs. And then a P sound exhale that's not forceful. Okay? P sound exhale that's not forceful. After a handful of those, if your CO2 levels were good at baseline, you may feel a little lightheaded. But if your CO2 levels were high, especially after a 2-minute plus breath hold, or even a minute plus breath hold, depending on your physiology, you would like to get that baseline again as quick as possible before keeping on going. So that'll offload excess CO2 in your blood, because there is a sweet spot for CO2. Totally necessary. If anybody is not feeling comfortable, you can always stand up and walk around a little bit, maybe just do some nice strong nasal inhales and nasal exhales. Maybe humming is good because it generates heat. Sometimes breathwork practices can cause people to have an itchy throat, or coughing, or even sneezing, or yawning. It is very common to see that, just so you know. So exhales with a hum sound can maybe bring about a little heat to your throat and maybe alleviate some of that sensation. Okay, good job, everybody. We are now starting with the first stage or phase of the 3-part exercise, 3-part breath. It is your diaphragmatic breathing, okay? So, I'd like for everybody to place dominant hand on your belly button, below the belly button, between your waist and your belly button, right there. And press, I'd say firmly, downwards, okay? Now, look at me for a second. The breathing pattern for this and the following exercises are going to be, for now, for training purposes, mouth, okay? Because of the traction that we get, the suctioning power. Mouth, tiny O, lip shape. Feel how through that tiny O shape in your lips, you are restricting the airflow. So you force your diaphragm muscle to work, to get to work, to expand downwards and pull the lungs downwards in order to suck in the air. So you have to feel that there's some negative suction, inside of you. It's almost the reverse sensation of doing abs. It's the reverse. It is a pressure that goes, or tension that goes from the inside out as you suck the air in. And as you mechanically, deliberately pull the belly up or out, okay? As the air comes in, as you suck the air in, the belly goes up, okay? So that hand that's pressing down, it's opposing to the raising of the belly, and the belly still has to raise. So visually, I like to see that everybody's bellies are raising with that inhale. If not, as for a sample, you can look at mine. And on the exhale, the opposite happens. The hand goes down. There you go. Nice, nice. All bellies up on the inhale. As you bring the air in, the bellies should rise or raise, and that hand, what it's doing is putting a little pressure. It's almost like mimicking lifting. Okay? You are training your diaphragm muscle by putting pressure on your belly, and mechanically speaking, that diaphragm muscle, which is just a bit above the belly, has to really work, get to work, to be able to bring in the air, to expand your lungs. One must be very emphatic on that draw, on that inhale. Keep pressing on that belly downwards. Also, hold. Now let's add one more element. Let's hold the breath at the top when the hand is at its highest point. Let's hold the breath for 2 seconds. And in those 2 seconds, we press more onto our hands. So we raise that belly, we push that belly out. Push that belly out and down. And you can still add one more element, which is tightening the perineal muscle. That's your pubic muscle, okay? In the deeper groin, in between the legs, you can tighten that as you're holding to get to the restroom, okay? For those 2 or 3 seconds that hold is going for, okay? Then you can release that tension of the perineal muscle as the air goes back out. The air goes back out also on an S prolonged soothing sound, as we did on the contrast therapy yesterday. Good. That's your prime breathing technique, diaphragmatic breathing to its finest. The way, for instance, free divers do before taking that last breath in and diving deep and holding their breaths for a long time. So these breathing guys will do 3 things. It will deliver more oxygen to your tissues because you are again expanding that lower third stage of your lungs, which is wider, which contains more alveoli. So the oxygen diffusion gets enhanced, it gets augmented. Number 2, you are owning your physiology more. You are controlling your physiology more. So you are the master of your physiology by just tapping into certain areas and knowing how to activate them. So this draws new pathways, or pathways that needed a little dusting off. You're dusting off some neuromuscular pathways. And number 3, most importantly, guess what? When you activate the diaphragm, when you do belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, you are pulling off a string that connects that diaphragm to the brain called the vagus nerve, and that vagus nerve will trigger downregulation of the nervous system, of your autonomic nervous system. So by breathing diaphragmatically, you are relaxing your musculature, you're increasing and improving blood flow through the body, and you are lowering your heart rate. Relaxing the musculature, lowering your heart rate, and improving blood circulation. Very relaxing. You can do this before a test at school, or before a presentation, or having a conversation with somebody that requires for you to be sharp and attentive. Do this before a match if you're feeling a little bit anxious. All right, so diaphragmatic breathing at its finest. Let's do 3 more rounds of it, reviewing the whole technique. Nice draw of air with O-shaped lips. being emphatic, make it audible, drive that air to the lower areas of your lungs, and as a byproduct, as a result, your belly will raise, your belly will protrude. Hold it for a couple of seconds up top. Keep pressing down on that dominant hand. And then on the exhale, just S sound all the way till you squeeze that belly in completely. 3 more cycles of that, and then we'll be ready to sit on legs crossed position. This is your prime free diving technique previous to a breath hold or a dive. Again, the main goal is to lower the heart rate. Let's seal this exercise and transition to the next one with a few sighs. Let's sigh with sound. There you go. Sighing is great. It's good. It's a good physiological breathing for relaxation, for bringing more ease into the moment. There's many ways in which you can sigh, like stack your inhales into 2. Can be nasal, can be mouth, can be with or without sound, with a humming, like deep Ujjayi ocean sound, like Darth Vader-ish. It could be in many forms, but it'll always bring in more peace and tranquility and relaxation. Good job, guys. Let's adopt a sitting position now, and let's work with the next stage. So we are stage by stage training the muscles of breathing. And again, the lungs on their own are not able to move air in and out if it wasn't because of the muscles around them. So let me tell you what you just did. You just trained your diaphragm. You just activated your parasympathetic more. And the obliques and the abs also got a little workout on that squeeze going out, exhaling. Because your inspiratory muscles, right, are those who will exercise that, drawing of the air, and your expiratory muscles are those who will let the air out. And for that, you need muscle engagement, right? They need to contract and expand. So they're getting a workout. Sometimes mild, sometimes high workout. So there's techniques in breathwork, such as the breath of fire, for instance, which the pattern is very, very fast, and you're supposed to bring in your belly in and out. At the end, you get a workout. Your abs are burning. And so you'll see a lot of people doing that also for, training purposes for the core, for instance. So next set of muscles that we are training, and we're doing it in pairs, okay, in teams of 2, is the intercostal muscles. These are the muscles in between the ribs, and these are responsible to expand the rib cage, so lateral breathing, where your lungs can not only get more air downwards, but sideways and back, okay? So to be able to expand more, those muscles, when they're strong and you connect with them, they're able to make more room and even pull the sides or the side walls of the lungs out in order for you to bring in more air, okay? And so you guys are going to press on each other's ribs from behind, okay? You can either sit with your legs crossed behind your body or with your legs open. And the point is to place your hands where most of the bones are. You can feel where most of the bones are. And let's all get in position. And once we're all in position, we'll start the exercise, because you will notice that it's going to bring in some strain to the especially deltoid muscles when you're pressing, because you want to be firm. You want to turn yourself into a sort of corset, or exercise band wrapped around your buddies. So if I may get somebody to kind of model for or show the, Frankie, would you mind? Just stay where you're at. And so you can choose to kneel, like maybe with one knee down or both knees down, or you can choose to sit with your legs crossed The point is that you get a position in which you're being able to press firmly. See, you're feeling that pressure, right, buddy? Okay, I want you to keep your torso straight, so back straight, shoulders down. Now your belly doesn't move anymore, okay? This is a good thing to say, like your belly stays neutral. It's no longer the diaphragmatic breathing, it is the intercostal, so we keep the belly in, and we also keep the shoulders down in order to mechanically force the air to that center portion or area, okay? So back straight, buddy, and I want you to throw in the strongest inhale through your mouth possible with those O-shaped lips at 1, 2, 3. Look at my hands, they're moving out. Shoulders down, log the air in for a couple of seconds, and exhale. Exhale a little faster this time. There you go. Go for a stronger one this time. Can you guys notice my hands moving out a little bit? There you go. So that's the action. Now let's do it quicker and stronger on that inhale. Can you notice my hands? Okay, so that's, and you're feeling the pressure, right?
Yeah.
I'm applying good pressure on his ribs and he's able to expand that rib cage thanks to those muscles. So those muscles are getting a workout. And so what that does, thanks buddy, what that does is that every time you're going, if those muscles are well trained and your diaphragm and your accessories as well, every time you breathe, you're able to bring in more air. You're able to bring in more air, you're able to absorb more oxygen to bring more energy. And yeah, so that's the point right there, is to improve that biomarker, the lung capacities, by training those muscles. And on top of that, being able to regulate your nervous system. Let's all pick a couple. And if somebody needs a pair, I'll work with you. Yeah? I can always work with you. Let's see how this guy's. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Excellent. So guys, I want you to think of this exercise as, this is nothing like strange. It is just not presented to the general public as we get all the nice squatting and bench presses and all the, you know, all the more visually appealing stuff. But this is even more importantly, because oftentimes as, you know, in sports and in general, people are focusing more on the stuff that they can see. But there are things that are hiding that we cannot see that are even sometimes more important. So this is one of them, okay? So this is nothing different than the pressing or, you know, doing your deadlifts, or it is as important or more. All right, so let's all put those hands in position, and at the count of 3, you start pressing and you guys start breathing, okay? Be very emphatic with the air coming in through the mouth. 3, 2, 1. And be very firm with the pressing of the hands, guys. Yeah, exhale faster this time so you can really notice the change of density in that. Nice. Be firm. Press firm, and you guys be strong on those inhales especially. Good. At the end of the inhale, drop the shoulders, lock the air in for 2 seconds, and exhale. At the end of the inhale, lock the air in for 2 seconds, and even press out on those hands, and exhale. 2 more breaths and switch. Nice. Shoulders down, lock the air in and press out, and exhale. So you want to make yourself look more robust, like here when you finish your inhale. Like lock the air in and even hunch forward a little bit. There you go. Now let's switch. Okay, question. Was everybody pressing, feeling that there's an activation of those muscles and that the ribs are moving? Everybody did feel that expansion? Okay, that's great. So you're noticing how physiology works through somebody else's physiology. Okay, let's all get in position. Not press, don't press yet. We start pressing once we're all in the position, okay? Hands in place. Hands in place. When I count down, you guys start pressing and breathing. And the pressing is consistent. 3, 2, 1. Press firmly, guys. Breathe in strong. Remember, it's a mouth inhale. You really want to exaggerate that inhale. You want to turn yourself into a sort of a vacuum. That's it. Good job. Lock it in. Make yourself feel and look robust, and exhale. Okay. You may also feel the lats engaging. Okay. Press firmly. Press firmly. I know this is a little strenuous for the deltoids, but it's just a few more seconds, couple more breaths. Shoulders down. Press on your muscles as you hold the air for a couple of seconds. There you go. Shoulders down, and Nice. One more breath, and we're good. Good job. Good job, guys. Look, there is a specific tool for this type of training. It's called the breathing belt. The industry has even done specific tools. It is a belt that's very wide. It looks like a body, like a weightlifter's, you know, how do you call this? Brace, the belt, but it's for the ribs. So, yeah, there's, you know, the weightlifters have that to protect the spine, right? But there's also a thing called the breathing belt, and you can get it online, and you just basically, it's like a sort of corset. It'll do the hands work. But if you don't have somebody to do it with you, or the breathing belt, or a corset, or something that you can wrap around, you can do it on your own. You can just place your own hands, and you know, it'll be a little strenuous, but you can do it for 5 rounds and rest, and you know, roll your shoulders a bit, and just press. You'll especially notice the change in density when the air is going out. You'll notice how much you have expanded. So this is it. This is training for your breathing muscles, guys. As important as any other muscle group in the body. All right, so let's go for the third and last stage, which is the accessory muscles. This will include your pectoral minor and your trapezius. I think there's 2 groups of trapezius, the one, you know, anterior and posterior, if I'm not wrong. So this is basically the traps and the sternocleidomastoid, the neck muscles, the scalene. So all of the muscles in your upper, it's called subclavial, or, you know, pectoral area, that will allow you to shrug your shoulders, tilt your head back. So do a head extension and shrug your shoulders. Visualize that shrugging of the shoulders as the 2 last ribs are attached to the top or tip of the lungs. And so by you shrugging your shoulders, what you're doing is pulling those ribs, and those ribs are pulling the top of the lungs up. So you're gaining more space, okay, to bring more air upwards. And you're going to feel it in that pressure. It is the same concept as for the one we just did, gaining more room sideways and back. And it is the same concept for the first exercise, gaining more room downwards. So on top of that, guys, you are almost like massaging or doing some mobility inner work. Because a lot of those structures, by a lack of, you know, motion and friction, will sometimes be stagnant and even cause respiratory illnesses. A lot of the, you know, chest tightness and air restriction and like COPD, you know, the alveoli is being obstructed and stuff. It's because of a lack of positive pressure. By the way, positive pressure, it is what we do when we exhale with an S sound, or even pursed lips. Or S sound. If you notice, if you look for that sensation, it keeps the internal pressure positive. You can feel a little pressure inside, which is great because that keeps the lungs open to receive the oxygen. It keeps the alveoli open. So when we're not exercising this and, you know, training, sometimes we may feel, you know, that we have restriction or tightness. And when you start doing these exercises, even those will disappear. Okay, so let's go to the third and last stage before we put them all together into one big deep breath. So this will be, look and sound like this, guys. So you're pulling as much air as possible to the upper. You're starting to feel that sucking sensation in the, you know, sternum area and the upper ribs a little bit, but that suctioning or sucking, you know, positive pressure or negative pressure, it's traveling upwards until you shrug your shoulders and you really feel that the air is really going up, okay, and expanding the top of the lungs. And that's when you finally drop your shoulders, roll them back, and just robust, chest for a couple of seconds, and then you exhale in the same pattern as we've been doing the breathing, okay? Let's do it together. Let's count down 3. And the hands, by the way, are just an indicator for you to know that the belly is not activating, the belly is staying flat, and what's activating is the chest and shoulders and neck, okay? 3, 2, and 1. Drop shoulders, puff up your chest, so roll your shoulders back, 2, 3 seconds, and so back straight, Frankie. Let's do 3 more. Shoulders down, roll them back, puff up your chest. Feel that nice pressure. 2 more breaths. Keep the belly in. Let all that energy travel upwards. Shoulders down, puff up your chest. So we're expanding the top of the lungs. 1 more breath. Nice. Any chance somebody felt lightheaded on this one? Yeah, it's very normal. Because we're getting close to the head, and there's receptors for pressure in the neck that will get squeezed a bit, and so that'll kind of restrict the airflow a little bit, or the oxygen delivery. But it's okay, you can hold your breath for maybe 5-10 seconds with air in you inside, and it'll probably go away like this. Okay, so after we have done the 3 stages separately, the point is to walk into the connecting stage. So put them all together into one breath. I'll lay in front of you guys, and I'll do that in the right order. Again, remember, belly, ribs, and chest. The only reason why we're doing chest here is because it is a component of a 3-part breath. But again, it's good to remind each other that you put the chest on, or the accessory muscles, when you need help, when you need more air to come in. Other than that, we should always be breathing belly and ribs, belly and ribs. And the next 2 components that we're walking into are nasal breathing and the slowing down of the breath, which we have been doing. Slowing down, running it through the nostrils, and do it in the right order. That'll be functional, that'll be coherent, that'll be physiologically logic. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 breaths on the right order, and you guys are going to do the same thing after. So just look at me for a second. Still using the mouth for this one. 5 rounds you guys are going to do with only mouth, and then you're going to switch to nasal. Here we go. Even 3 slightly different sounds if I tap into each of those 3 containers, if you will, or stages. 1 more. So that's pretty much my full lung capacity. Okay, on the exhale, guys, leave the belly for last. Keep the belly up until you're running out of air, then you bring it down, okay? So you exhale in the opposite order, all right? So let's do that all together. What we're doing here is, again, training the neuromuscular patterns to do the breathing in the right order, belly, ribs, and chest if we need it, right? So let's start with empty lungs. So we'll start exhaling. 3, 2, good question. Let's actually, I'll one by one, I'll start removing the bolsters so you guys are totally neutral, okay? Don't worry, I'm not gonna step on anybody's heads or hands, but you guys start your 3-part, sorry, I'm just gonna remove this, guys, so we are totally neutral on our laying position. Thank you. Okay, remember the O-shaped lip pattern, okay? So that, so we can We can tap into every area in the right order: belly, ribs, and chest. Bringing in the air with some pressure, okay, so with some pressurizing the air on the inhale. Do you guys mind if I remove the bolster? Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Belly, ribs, and chest. Buddy, do you mind? So yeah, this is perfect because we are being as neutral as our bodies are meant to be. Laying, belly, ribs, and chest. No, okay. Frankie, do you mind? I'm gonna remove the bolster. Scott. Thank you. Awesome. Belly, ribs, and chest. So after we have done probably a good 5 or 6 rounds of it, let's switch to nasal. Nasal inhales and exhales, both. So slowly, we are getting closer and closer to what our daily breathing patterns should be like, unless we are working out and our heart rate zone goes above 3 or threshold and we start needing more air. That's when we start thinking of recruiting the accessory muscles, and even as it gets higher, that's when we start thinking of mouth breathing. But until that real urge to recruit more muscles or to open a wider airway is there, it's present, we shouldn't. We should always educate ourselves or re-educate ourselves to breathe in that right order: belly and ribs, and through the nostrils. So now we're shutting our mouths and we are only breathing through the nostrils. And by the way, I'm going to pass by and I'm going to ask you guys to extend your index finger on your right hand. I'm going to pour a drop of lavender oil. Then you're going to rub the back of your ears with it so you can have that nice scent with you to start the process of relaxation for the second breath hold. So right hand's index finger, unless you don't want any lavender, you can just keep your fist clenched. If you do want lavender, you can extend. There you go. So you can rub the back of your ears. Rub the back of your ears.
So is it ideal to breathe only through your nose, inhale and exhale?
Yes, for now, all the time for sure, because of the filtering. We're going to discuss that after this. The filtering, the humidifying benefits or qualities of the nostrils and nasal passages, etc. So yeah. Rub the back of your ears with it so you can have that scent with you. Sorry. Go. Good. Rub the back of your ears. Welcome. Good. Everybody's got lavender. Great. 3 stages: belly, ribs, and chest. Now we have that nice lavender scent. As you reiterate the pattern, belly, ribs, and chest, I'm going to walk you through 3 tools for your next breath hold, as we call it the breath hold journey, and good tools to navigate that breath hold. Well, first of all, for the next breath hold, you guys are going to do a mouth inhale just for the capabilities of the mouth to recruit more air. So you want to really pack in a lot of air, okay? And that's going to be in that semi O-shaped lips, so you can pressurize the air. So you're going to pack the 3 stages. Now that you've worked with the 3 stages, you know how to, fully engage them. So you pack those lungs fully. Okay, that's one element. I'm going to go with the tools. First tool, for your breath hold journey is body scanner. Run a body scan from head to toes. That is an element from yoga nidra, type of yoga, that seeks to find little areas in the body that we're not fully aware of that may still have tension in them, and releasing them completely, just letting them go, soften them, so we're not spending any energy on that specific area. It may be hands that are held in a position that are not neutral, such as, on top of the torso, or, in your chest, or, they're crossed hands. So ideally, we would like to have those laying next to us in a Shavasana yoga position, palms looking up, totally neutral. It could be your ankles, for instance, holding a little tension, and then your feet are laying straight, and if you disengage that, your feet will kind of, go sides to the sides a bit. It may be anything. As you run that scanner, you'll probably realize, oh, my left shoulder had a little tension. Now it's gone. I'm releasing it. Okay, so the point for this is to seek for full body relaxation and let go of any muscle. For as tiny as it is, if there is tension, we want to let it go. So let your body lay freely disconnected, as if you were to pull a plug that controls, your musculature. Good. And this is a really good exercise for learning, for some of us, how to sit still and just exist, basically. So zenning out. Okay, so that'll be the first tool for when you start your breath hold. Number 2, being aware of that Mother Nature and your biology are helping you, because when you hold your breath, instantly, automatically, your heart rate will slow down, unless you're being tumbled by a wave. But if it is deliberate, or you're willingly holding your breath, voluntarily holding your breath, you bet your heart rate starts slowing down. So you want to use that in your favor and just keep it like that for as long as you can. Use it as a mindful moment. Athletes, for instance, do this exercises for working in their visualization. As they enhance or augment their lung capacities, they're also visualizing themselves crossing that finish line, performing that really clean technique. And if the case is you're a chef, for instance, you can visualize yourself presenting a nice, beautiful made dish for a group of friends, and they're like, oh, they're so delighted to see, that dish looks so delicious. And or you can just, imagine yourself surfing and enjoying, a nice long wave that's got crystal clear water. You name it. It could be anything that moves you, that motivates you, that makes you dream. Well, you go to that thought and vividly analyze every part of it, and just make it feel like it's real. Visualize, okay? So visualization. Finally, number 3, you can start counting seconds in your head and visualizing, also trying to see those numbers being drawn on a board. And so you can count slow, like 1 Costa Rica, 2 Costa Rica, 3 Costa Rica, or Mississippi, however. And that'll make time go by faster, okay? So guys, also it's important to know that the first stage for a breath hold is pleasant, is natural, is very relaxing, because of that component of the self-preservation that your body is going through that slows down everything. But then the second component comes in when the breath hold becomes uncomfortable, which will happen. It will happen. But that's when the mindset changes and you go, okay, this is a little discomfort for me to stay strong and not react and not let myself get defeated at the first stimuli. I'm going to cope with it. I'm going to hang in tight. I'm going to be strong. And I know it is only time, and it is only a little bit of discomfort. And I'm just going to hold. I'm just going to hold until well, of course, I have to breathe at some point, but not before putting a nice fight and carving in more and more of that resilience aspect, and strengthening that tolerance muscle that I have in my mind and my body, in my cells. With all that being said, friends, Let's sigh 10 times before I count down. Remind yourself of those tools as you go through. Pick one from the get-go. Maybe it's your, since you've already did it, your body scanner, but then maybe you want to jump right into the visualization. And then later on, if it becomes very uncomfortable, you want to start counting numbers. You can also focus on bodily sensations and sounds, like the water on that pond back there, or the breeze blowing through your skin, caressing your skin. Let's keep sighing. I'm going to start a countdown as you keep sighing. Sighing with sound, bringing in more relaxation in. Thinking of relaxation from head to toes. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, ready. The deepest inhale of your life. 1. Deepest inhale of your life, and let's go. Starting to work through any tension in your body, just let it go. Fully relaxed. Good job, everybody. We are at 30 seconds. You guys are doing great. Enjoy the practice. Tell yourself, you got this. You're strong. Very nice, guys. We're getting close to 1 minute and you're all looking strong and relaxed. I like that. Few more seconds till 1 minute. This is 1 minute. Good job, everybody. That's 105. Nicely done, everyone. Stay strong. And that was 117 together. Beautiful. Keep working. That was 122. Keep working on your visualization. 122. Visualizing. Pleasant thoughts and sensations. Simple thoughts. 130, 133. Good job, guys. That was 140. 140, the two of you at the same time. Good job. That was 145, Frankie. Good job, buddy. Good job, everybody. We are 10 seconds away from 2 minutes. All of you have stacked a bunch of seconds on top of your first one. That was great. We just got the 2 minute pass. Amazing. And we're still holding a few of you guys. 212 and counting. It's great to see some diaphragms moving. This is a great physiological trait. The diaphragm moving. That was 225. Amazing, Wendy. Amazing, amazing. Breathe in and out strong. That was 233. Beautifully done. Those who are breathing now, let's do the recovery breaths as jet pilots to cope with the altitude changes. 245 currently, my friend, and we are on our way to 3 minutes. In 10 more seconds, bear with us, stay with us a little longer. 5 more seconds and you'll get to the 3 minute, which is an epic mark. Guys, over here, 3 minutes. And this is beautiful. Now, in and out strong, get a lot of air moving. I can see her lips are turning a little purple. That's a sign of pushing it to the next limit. And we still have someone here holding at 313 currently. And this is 315, my friend. Breathe in and out strong, move a lot of air. Same for you, Tracy. Move a lot of air in and out because you guys just pushed the limits, and that was beautiful to witness. We hit 3 minute marks today, and this is amazing. I love it when we get to the 3 minute, which is a big milestone for breath holding. So you have a lot of potential for being a free divers. Let me tell you. Beautiful. as long as our initial times were surpassed by maybe even doubling it, we can be proud of ourselves. And some of us have a stronger physiological component that helps us to cope with that breath holding. Some of us have a more psychological strong component. Whether it is one or the other, there's always room for growth. And this is a good practice, guys. Good practice to tell ourselves how trainable the physiology and the psychology is in a matter of 40 minutes to an hour, which was the length of time between the first breath hold and the second. Okay, let's take a few seconds to stretch in any way. I know there's not a lot of room, but maybe you guys want to just do a forward fold, or a cobra, or I don't know, cat cow, or anything that comes to mind that you feel like. In my case, I'm going to do a cobra. Oh, so the record holders right now, in static breath hold, which is what we just did, but in water, which is typically how they do it. I think the world records are above 14 minutes. 13 or 14 minutes, yeah. And yes.
When you're in yoga and the instructor says, don't forget to breathe, don't forget to breathe, you're saying that it's good to not breathe, to hold it.
Well, it is good to do both. Because, breathing consciously, exactly like in yoga, actually breath is one of the core components of yoga. I think everything starts with the breath and the way you synchronize the breathing. And sometimes you do holds, right? You do what they're called the kumbhakas in Sanskrit. But, breath holds are a great tool, but I don't think you're supposed to do that while doing yoga unless there's a specific exercise that will, have that element. But breath holding, again, will tell you where you're at in both physiology, so that maybe your lung capacity and your oxygen absorption by the muscles and whatnot, and your psychology, how much discomfort you're able to tolerate. Which, by the way, there's a caveat for that. We are different every day, right? We're not the same person every day. If, for instance, today I drink coffee, my breath hold is going to be compromised because coffee increases heart rate. And so it'll be harder for me to keep that heart rate as low as I want to, So on the, free divers on the test or the competition day, no caffeine. Like, this is sacrilege to drink coffee, because they know it is acting in their detriment. You drink coffee when you're going on a run, or something like that, but not when you're holding your breath for a long time. So that'll be number one. Today, if it happens, that you drink coffee in the morning, know that your breath hold could go on longer. Okay? Yeah. Also, it depends on body temperature that day, sleep, nutrition. So when we're talking about those world records, these guys are preparing. First of all, they're doing this type of training for sometimes years or months at least, this type of training. And then a couple of days before the test, they're getting a lot of nitrates in their diet, such as beets and stuff like that, for the nitric oxide, to be able to transport more oxygen to their bodies, muscles. They're sleeping like babies the night before. They're barely showing up with food in their bellies, so they're fully digested. So all energy and resources are invested into holding their breaths. It is amazing. No coffee. Instead, they do chamomile tea and stuff like that will relax them. So, yeah. So either you drink or not coffee, or slept or didn't sleep as good as you would like to, or you're still have a little jet lag or whatnot. I think everybody did great by at least doubling their initial breath hold times. Some of you did. And some of you guys were remarkable hitting the 3-minute mark, which I know it was legit because I even saw the diaphragmatic contractions, which is something that happens. It is the diaphragm pushing to restore. Yeah, exactly. Which is the autonomic nervous system, but your conscious self goes, it's okay, I got it, and I know exactly what's happening. So you just go through as many of those as you can withstand, and this is your diaphragm pushing to restore respiration. But in the attempt, it pushes oxygen towards the brain, so it keeps the brain stable and alive. So that's great. Yes, please,
So when
Trace.
you're surfing,
Yeah.
what's the ideal and your
Okay, that is
the
a
ideal?
very good question, and we're supposed to draw the parallels, and I love your question because, well, first of all, after at least a minute of a breath hold, or 130, which was, I think, 1 minute is a good baseline. 130 is really good. Anything above that is great, and, it starts becoming like 3 minutes is, you know, free divers certification worldwide, the first level free divers, you're supposed to do a 3-minute breath hold as part of the test. Besides, like an exam with physiology and tests and all that. So, anyhow, you first of all you want to have that assurity, that security, or that assurance that a wipeout and tumble in a wave is not going to last more than 5 or 10 seconds on the most. Regardless of your heart rate being high in that moment, if you only have a minute breath hold, that's plenty to be able to cope with a 5 or 10 second breath hold with a heart pumping a little faster. That's number one. Number two, in water we know that most of the time we breathe with our mouth, right? Because if the water comes in through the nose, it makes it a little more uncomfortable. Although you decide, if you're paddling and the water is nice and calm, there's not a lot of chop, so there's not a lot of potential, water going through, and you want to breathe through the nose, for me that's excellent, because nasal breathing is king, or queen. It is the best thing you can do. And we'll discuss why before the workshop is over. So nasal breathing, if you notice that there's no water, splashing in your face, will be better than mouth breathing. Mouth breathing is mostly what we do in surfing. Synchronizing the breathing patterns with your strokes, which is something you do striding and of swimming, with your strokes. Whether it is an inhale for every 2 strokes and maybe an exhale every 4 strokes. So it'll be so 2 part or 2 stroke inhale and 4 stroke exhale. Keep your exhales longer than your inhales. That's one rule of thumb for lowering your heart rate, by the way. Keep your exhales longer than your inhales. Because when you inhale, your heart pumps a little faster because the heart gets squeezed a bit, and so it has to pump a little faster. And also the brain tells the heart, hey, buddy, raw material coming in, get to work, right? Pump that oxygen. So the heart increases its pace. When the air goes out, the brain tells the heart, slow down, buddy, there's no need to work extra. We're just getting rid of CO2 mainly. And also the heart decompresses, so it relaxes and it beats a little slower. So knowing that, if you keep an exhale going longer on time, you're going to keep that heart rate going longer. So keep your exhales longer than your inhales. So there you have 3 ideas. Number 1, be fine if you tumble, because all you have to do is just tell yourself, relax, I'm okay. Even if you didn't get a chance to grab that nice breath of air, you've held your breath for a long time. And that should be, in the back of your head, it should be an assurance of like, I'm fine. 5, 10 seconds, it's okay. I'm just going to let the water do whatever it wants with me for a few seconds, and then I'll start looking for the way up. Number 2, again, synchronize. Choose your pathway. I would say mostly mouth, and then synchronize your strokes with your breathing. And I don't know what else to say. I think those are pretty much 3 ideas that will come to mind that will cover like how you should breathe and what you should be thinking or feeling like when you're surfing. Slow down your exhales. And if you get faced by a set of waves that are big, that you go, oh my God, this is bigger than what I expected, I'm not going to be able to make it through over the wave, I'm going to have to go under, right? And this is typically your instructor going, drop the board and go under, like abandon the ship, bail. Okay, well, you be ready to take that nice breath of air in, as we did before the breath hold. Like savor, like suck all that air in and go under and swim forward underwater and do it in a circle, like a pendulum motion to come up on the other end, surface on the other end, and be ready to exhale as you're coming up and get ready in case there's another wave to take another breath in, another full breath, or maybe a couple of breaths in between with that recovery breath that we did. Okay. another one, and that'll be another protocol that will be handy. Just try and purge that CO2 as quick as possible if you only have a few seconds in between waves, and take that nice deep breath in before you consume yourself again. Does that do it? Okay. Thank you, guys. Anything else that would like to discuss or touch on? Okay, let's see how we're doing with time. It is 11:18 and we started at 10, right? So we're supposed to finish in 10 minutes, basically. So let's quickly discuss nasal breathing versus mouth breathing. This is very a cool topic, is important because the nose was built for breathing and smelling, right? We have an HVAC system built in, natural HVAC filtration, humidifying system. So it all starts with the nasal hair, right? The nasal hair will stop bigger airborne particles and will result into snot or the buggers they call them, right? This is it. It's basically all of the residues that will stop right there. We can then blow our noses and just get rid of that. Anything smaller particles, I can't recall the microns, but anything that will go through those layers of the nasal hair will at some point get binded or trapped to the mucosa layers, which will go all throughout the nasal passages, and that's a humid and sticky surface. So pathogen, dust mite, whatever it is, gets trapped there, and then we have another layer that's like a carpet that covers some of those nasal passages, and it has a sweeping or scraping action that is going inwards into the back of the throat. So when we, for instance, do this, I can't recall what this action is called, if anyone knows. Okay, well, you'll be helping for that process to, take place. And so all of that, mucus that carries all those particles to the back of the throat then will be swallowed. And then the stomach acids will take care of the rest. They'll neutralize those pathogens. So that's our filtration system in order to protect the holy lungs from anything that doesn't favor our biology to enter and wreak havoc, such as, a bad virus or bad bacteria, right? VOCs and whatnot, volatile organic compounds, particulate matter, less than 2.5 microns. There's a whole thing with air quality that's a big topic. And nowadays, if you guys take the time to research it and get like a proper, there's a name for those. They're heat exchange extractors that will just cycle the air, not recycle the air, but bring fresh air from the outside, so everything stays fresh and filtered. Because CO2, for instance, carbon dioxide levels in closed spaces in classrooms or offices, there is a parts per million measure that when it exceeds or surpasses the 800 or 1,000 parts per million concentration, even your cognitive functions are compromised. And air quality workers in the space of air quality will know this and will, suggest that we install those. I'm currently looking to budget one for my small, cabin, because it just drives me crazy when I see my little device going like 1,500 parts per million. I'm like, oh my God, I have to open all windows and just make, fresh air come in and then close it again, because so these are little things that are related to what we're talking about now. The quality of the air, the index air quality in your spaces that are important to address. So if you want to go into further research or consult, I'll just throw you a couple links so you can see other stuff. But going back to the filtration, the nasal passages and the nasal ducts have those benefits, and also there is nitric oxide production, and nitric oxide it is a vasodilator and an air purifier. So as we breathe through the nose, we're producing nitric oxide that goes into our bloodstream, and it relaxes the the vessels. It relaxes the veins and arteries and capillaries, so we get better blood flow. Nitric oxide, NO, okay? It even won a Nobel Prize. The guy that discovered it won a Nobel Prize. A U.S. physician won a Nobel Prize. I think it was in year 95 or 97. And the molecule itself, NO, nitric oxide, was rewarded or awarded as the molecule of the year by the Science Journal. Crazy. So you produce nitric oxide with nasal breathing. And guys, other than that, okay, moistening also. So humid air is much more welcome by the lungs than dry air. So these are the qualities for nasal breathing. Thank you so much. No problem. Thank you for your presence. So we're finishing with these thoughts. Then mouth breathing comes in handy for swimming, for snorkeling, for public speech, for singing, for gasping at zone 4 or 5 when you're sprinting, for instance, or just high intensity workouts. Then of course you have to open a new airway, which is the mouth, which get access to more air. Other than that, the mouth is for eating, talking, and and showing love to your beloved ones. That'll be it, guys. A few exercises to practice at home if you want to incorporate, just to wrap it all into a 7-minute exercise. It'll be on your own, basically, whether it's laying or sitting. 1 minute of diaphragmatic. Before a run, you can do this workout and it'll benefit you. Trust me. By the way, before I just jump into the last recap, if you will clone yourself, I'm going to use Kennedy for an example because she's running track and field, and she's got a test, right? You got a race coming up, and when is it? On Friday. So while she's here, her parents and her are minding about training and not losing what she's already acquired through training, which I think is great. And so let's set this example. If you were to clone yourself, put another candidate next to you, same quality, same everything, right? But you pay attention to this, to the breathing aspect of training, and the candidate number 2 don't, you'll probably win. You'll probably finish that finish line. You'll cross that finish line before the number 2 candidate that didn't pay attention to or practice. So see if you can incorporate this into your morning routine. 1 minute of belly or diaphragmatic. 1 minute of intercostal on your own. 1 minute of chest or accessory. 1 minute of full breath or deep breath. The 3 stages, right? Pack it. Exhale. That is what? 1, 2, 3, and 4 minutes. Then lay flat and prepare for another minute. Just breathing diaphragmatically. 1 more minute. That'll be 5 minutes. And do a breath hold. Full lung capacity breath hold. Stopwatch, play. Maybe 1 minute or 1.5 minutes, whatever you think is, like you push it a little bit and you feel like you're getting to that discomfort, that urge to breathe. That'll be what? 6 minutes? And pretty much that's it. You have it right there. Then take a few more seconds or another minute to just breathe normally and get to baseline. You get up, you get going, and you have a little advantage over someone who didn't do the activation of the breathing muscles, which will allow you to bring in more air, to absorb more oxygen, to keep your nervous system more leveled, so you're more in control and in touch, more connected to your musculature for breathing musculature. That's it, guys. Thank you so much. We could be here talking for hours, and thank you for your patience. Especially the youngsters, I really want to acknowledge their maturity, because at your age, I would have probably just grabbed my tablet and go to the room and go, you guys, this is too geeky, and I don't know, but there is definitely a benefits that you reap today, and you're showing that you are ahead of your game or your age, so that's great. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody. And
Thank you.
appreciate it, guys. We're gonna train on Thursday, I believe, on the pool training. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I believe it is on Thursday, but we gotta double check. Wherever you see pool training on the schedule, you bet we're gonna have a